The first one takes place in the late 60s or early 70s, when my dad was 20-something. It was 2 a.m., and he was coming home from a party to his farm. It was heavy snowfall, sort of a blizzard. Some minutes from his place, he turned onto a road, and there was a car parked on it facing the way my dad was coming from. The guy got out and waved him down, slightly into the road. My dad stopped, but only lowered his windows a tad, and locked the doors due to suspicions. There were another 2 men in the vehicle. The one who waved him down said that their car wouldn't start, and they needed to use his home phone to call some friends. At this point, one of the other guys was grabbing the door handle of my dad's car. My dad said that there was a town nearby which had a payphone, and he'd take them to it, one by one I believe. But the guys objected and said they had no money. Anyway, they had a threatening demeanor, while also acting very suspicious, wanting coffee at the farm, insisting on coming to the house. My dad left them and called the police, saying there was a stranded vehicle on whatever street in need of assistance. The police phoned back sometime after the call and said there was no car to be found. The next story also involves my dad. He picked up a hitchhiker on a highway and started driving him. When he was nearing the hitchhiker's destination, the man said he'll go wherever my dad was going instead. Obviously, my father was confused and told him to get out, but the hitchhiker said,
"What if I pull a knife on you?"
To which my dad sped up the car and replied, "With any sudden motions, I'll drive this car off the road." Eventually he stopped, told him to get out, pushed him out where he was exiting, and left. A few days later, there were reports of stabbings by a psychotic hitchhiker in the relative area. The next one is with Mom. This was around 18 years ago. We live on a farm, not the same one mentioned in the first story. So having a truck coming out of nowhere offering lobsters is pretty strange. She described the men at the door as very frightening, with missing teeth and the like. She turned down their offers, and as she was closing the door, one dude barged into the house. Luckily, our mastiff Lola was there, who let out a monstrous growl. The guys hightailed it out of there. Finally, this is less suspicious and more frightening, as it is apparent what was going to happen. Our neighbor was subject to a convict, 18 years ago, I don't know. It was a summer's afternoon, her 5 kids at home. There were some noises at the door and tapping on the windows. Some guy was going to enter the house. She, our neighbor, started frantically locking all the doors like in a horror film, going from one door to the next as the man was moving along the side of the house. Fortunately, another of our neighbors noticed a rusty truck parked at the end of the driveway on the road, and he went to investigate. The convict saw him and fled, I think into the forest. He was captured by the police. You know what he had? A large hunting knife and a firearm. Needless to say, our neighbor now has loads of security installed on the property. A few years ago, when I was 11, it was winter time, and I was walking up my longest driveway, which is mostly straight until you get to the donut. This means that you can see from the road to 200 meters of the driveway. I had a lot of stuff I was carrying, like a heavy binder, textbooks, trumpet, and steel-toe boots on my feet. I sat down approximately 100 meters up the driveway and started eating some snow for a break. I looked to the road, and suddenly a white sedan with its window rolled down stops at the bottom, snaps a picture. There was a flash, and suddenly drives off. I got extremely scared and ran to my house. I have no clue what that was about. A few things first to get the basics out of the way. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. On a mobile nonetheless, so sorry for formatting, grammar, etc. I haven't been sitting around thinking, oh, what could I tell? This moment has stuck with me since it happened. I just didn't know how to explain it, so bear with me. Lastly, I've read the rules, so I hope this fits here. Now on to the story. I started leasing a condo in 2010 and lived there for roughly 4 years. To understand the story, I have to explain the location and layout of my condo. First and foremost, in the area I was in, my condo was considered a carriage house or back house. Basically what that means is my unit was detached from all the other units within the small condominium complex. My unit also sat above the complex's water heater and very small laundry facility. Therefore, I was on the second floor. In short, my condo was basically comparable to living in a very small house, that is on a second floor, so I had no one above me, beside me, or below me. It was a freestanding unit, and if I wanted to visit my neighbor's unit, I had to walk down my stairs and go through a gate. My condo was only accessible through the alley, meaning you couldn't even get to or inside my unit without being in the alley. The alley is where all tenants facing north on my street parked, and all tenants facing south on the street behind us parked. So here's a really poor attempt at a drawing for understanding. My unit had one singular set of stairs, which led straight up to a little landing or faux balcony. Then of course the entrance to my unit. There was only one singular entrance or exit with no additional balconies. My unit had both a wooden door with a bottom lock and a deadbolt, as well as a screen door that also had a lock. The screen door was total crap, because even if it was locked, you could still open it if you pulled hard enough. Alright, now that we have that out of the way, I had been living in this condo for about 2 years when this occurred, and never experienced anything remotely similar prior to or after the event. One night, I go outside to my little landing to smoke a cigarette. I know, blah blah, so bad for me. I've since quit, so no comments please. It's night, therefore it's dark outside, but our alley is pretty well lit up so I can see everything pretty well. I'm screwing around in my phone, leaning over the railing, and I look down into the alley. I see this youngish guy walking down the alley near my unit, no big deal. Occasionally there would be random people that walked in our alley from the bus stop, but they never just stopped and stared. They continued on, and I never felt threatened or concerned, as I lived in a pretty prestigious area. However, this guy stops abruptly and just stares at me. I mean, the dude literally just stopped dead in his tracks, doesn't say a word, and stares up at me. At this point, we're making eye contact. I can't explain how or why I felt the way I did when we made eye contact, and to this day I've never felt the same emotions that came over me, but I could just sense that he was evil, and no less than 10 feet away. His eyes had zero emotions. It looked as if he was staring at me like a lion would its prey before they kill. I had never seen this man or interacted with him in my life. And again, just to reiterate, I don't know why, I don't know how, but my body and mind just knew he was evil. After making eye contact, my heart was beating rapidly, so I put out my cigarette and went inside. I didn't want to make it seem extremely obvious because, well, I didn't know his intentions. I locked my screen door, locked my big wooden door, and called one of my neighbors to see if he could go check what this guy was doing. Neighbor answers but says, "I'm not home right now, but I'll be pulling down the alley in a couple of minutes, so I can see if he's still there." Reminder, for him to park, he has to park in the alley, by my condo. At this point, I'm standing in the kitchen, which is about 20 feet from the door, and I start to hear footsteps on my stairs. I then hear my screen door attempting to be opened. I know it's him. I wasn't expecting anyone that evening. I soon found out that when crap goes down, and fight and flight is supposed to kick in, I apparently freeze. No grabbing a knife for me, so needless to say, if anything happens in the future, I'm screwed. At this point, I don't know how long it's been from a time standpoint, but honestly, time does stand still when you're in fear. All I know is this man has gotten my screen door open and who knows what's next. As I'm preparing for the worst, I can hear Save Your Neighbor screaming, "What are you doing?" The man, according to Save Your Neighbor, flew down the stairs and booked it through the alley. Save Your Neighbor tried to catch up, but he's also a bit older. I don't know what he was going to do, or what could have happened that evening had my neighbor not come home, but I am honestly so very lucky he was already on his way back. I lived at that condo for another 1.5 years, and never saw that man again. But please, Lord, let us never meet again.